What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Full Feature Podcast. I'm Tiernan. I'm here with Jack and Ian. And this week we are discussing quite a controversial film that has kind of swept Twitter and just social media in general. And that is Cuties. And I was going to say the director's name there, but I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Miss Decore.
Miss Decore? No, her name's
Well, no, I don't know her first name. So it's, I know Decore plays for Everton. And I saw her name and I was like, that's Decore.
Yeah, no, I knew Decore as well, but what's her first name?
I will get it now. She's a relatively unknown director, I believe.
This is her first feature film.
Yeah, so,
what a way to...
I'm gonna butcher this.
Yeah, butcher it, yeah.
Maimona?
To be fair, I've heard her French accent. She would butcher all of our names, except for Jack.
Yeah.
So
she'd make my name sound sexier.
Jacques.
Jacques, yeah. But we aren't discussing that just yet. We are going to be jumping into some films that we watched this week, and then we're going to be talking about the 5th episode of The Boys briefly, and then we'll be getting into the controversy that is Cuties.
Yeah, and then the other news, just, you know.
In general chit-chat we got going
Bit of chat. Ian, what have you been watching this week?
Well, I weirdly, I was browsing, doing my usual browse of Netflix. I finished The Umbrella Academy finally, the season 2.
What do you think of season 2?
I know you said, I get what you meant by season 2 with the season 2 syndrome, where you're building up to something, and that's clearly the case. But in saying that, it was the perfect opportunity for them to flesh out the characters across those 10 episodes, which they did.
I agree fully.
I when episode 10 rolled around and finished, I literally did a little chef's kiss, and I just went, mwah.
Like,
that's
it wasn't
exactly what I wanted.
It wasn't really about what was happening in that season.
No,
a lot more.
But that whole show kind of goes about what we do doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's the whole it's not going to make a difference.
Very true. I'm really excited for next season.
I cannot wait. Yeah. And Robert Sheehan as Klaus is just superb, and I loved his relationship with Ben throughout it all. And I just
that's the best part, isn't it? The relationship
good.
with Ben.
I love as well how they in season 1 they made Luther kind of brooding and dark, and this one he was just a complete fucking joke. And he fit it perfectly, because I remember in season 1 I didn't know how I felt if they were particularly good actors in this show. I was like, I don't really know if these guys have been, kind of miscast a little bit here. I thought Luther was a little bit a bit weird, and you kind of took him a bit seriously.
Yeah.
Obviously I loved Robert Sheehan and stuff, and even Ellen Page, she's not the best.
I'm really not a fan of Ellen Page.
I'm not either, to be honest.
I haven't been for quite some time.
She's fine in this.
She's Juno, yeah.
She's Juno.
She's been Juno for 12 years.
Juno is the only thing that she actually acted in.
But she's playing Ellen Page.
Oh, Hard Candy!
Hard Candy's a banger.
With Patrick Stewart, that is actually a good movie.
That was a really good film.
But yeah, I absolutely loved it. So I finished that anyway. I won't get into it too much more. It's great. It's brilliant. We could actually do a whole podcast on it. I actually think it's that good a show.
I'd really like to start it, but I kind of have this unwritten rule now where there's 2 or 3 series that I'll watch, but that are currently going on. But if I'm watching something, I want to be something that's finished. I'm sick of waiting for shit.
Yeah, like you did with The Sopranos.
Yeah. So I just watched The Sopranos, one of my favourite TV shows ever, and I just need to get on. So I've watched The Boys, obviously.
You want to watch The Wire, don't you?
I want to watch The Wire, yeah.
I really want to watch The Wire.
I'm really enjoying it, and then my Sky Go was acting up, and then I was like,
is it fully on Sky?
It's fully on Sky, yeah.
I have no reason not to start The Wire.
I know, me neither.
Yeah, me neither. I actually have no reason not to start.
I started Avatar: The Last Airbender again.
Yeah.
I was this close to rewatching Breaking Bad.
I've never rewatched that, so
it's such a great rewatch.
It's an amazing rewatch.
Man, half the time I'll sit on my phone on YouTube watching clips, being like, "This show was so
good."
Oh,
I've done that a couple of times.
You just go down a rabbit hole.
Just to mention, last night the Emmys were on, or was it last night, or was it the night before?
It was it's probably technically the night before at this stage.
Doesn't fucking matter. There wasn't a ceremony. But it just to mention really quickly, Succession won, which is delightful.
Cleaned up. Absolutely
great news.
Cleaned up. I'll just get some of the biggest ones up here. So the big talkers was Succession, Schitt's Creek absolutely stormed the comedy one. Watchmen did very well. Zendaya got the best. I think it was best actress in a drama series. Like you said, too, there's way too many
categories.
Fucking too many.
Yeah, you'd be there for a couple of fucking hours.
You literally could.
It just makes the Emmys less
it's just less
Oscar,
impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Kanye West was pissing on his
Grammys this week. So
they want to tweet I won't stop.
Well, he's got enough. He could be pissing for weeks.
So just a quick list here: best comedy, Schitt's Creek; best drama, Succession; best limited series, Watchmen. Then all the actors of Schitt's Creek all took home an award, all the main actors. Jeremy Strong won for Succession, who is Kendall.
Delighted with that.
I'm so happy with. He's just absolutely stunning in that show. And hasn't really done anything else. Like, I knew him from The Big Short,
really
that small role in The Big Short. And he's absolutely amazing. Ozark won a few Oscars and won a few Emmys and stuff. You know, your usual. Billy Crudup won for The Morning Show, which you
saw that as well. Loved that too. He was an excellent.
He'd be a great Homelander.
He would. That same kind of dickhead,
he's just got a great fucking chin.
Yeah.
He does. He gives off Homelander vibes. Really good.
Like discount kind of superhero.
One show that I've been meaning to watch and has won a few awards and stuff and has gotten a lot of praise is Mrs. America, which is about the women who helped political campaigns throughout like the 70s and the 80s, and Kate Blanchett is in it. I've seen a few ads for it. It looks really, really good, and it's just about they kind of explore stuff like that in Vice with Dick Cheney's wife. Fellas who had no personality and their wives technically got them fucking elected.
Ran the show,
and, Kate Blanchett is in it, and apparently it's very good. And I like political dramas. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But those are just the big Emmy ones. I mean, like nothing really major there. Like
there's actually hasn't been that much major news.
No,
the news is pretty shit, guys.
It's been really quiet this week. So, but back on to what I have been watching. I watched the 4 episodes of Netflix's latest documentary on the Challenger explosion.
I watched that also.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's fucking great.
I was expecting another Netflix documentary shit show, dragged out. This was perfect. 4 episodes.
I wanted another episode to go more into the aftermath. This is how good it was. But fuck me, I had no idea. Like, I've been to the...
you've been to the Space Center?
I've been to the Space Center, but I've been to Washington, D.C. and their...
The headquarters there,
And the Kennedy Space Center.
So there's the Kennedy Space Center, which is in Florida.
Cape Canaveral.
The Johnson one, there's a Johnson Space Center in Houston, and then the headquarters of NASA is in Washington.
So wait, didn't the Challenger crash at Cape Canaveral?
Houston.
Yeah. What was the crash at Cape Canaveral?
That was Columbia. Columbia 2 or something like that. Or well, this was Challenger 2.
I should really know this. I've been there.
Literally, no, it wasn't. Was it Columbia? And in 2006, another shuttle came down too fast and exploded, and that was in Cape Canaveral.
Isn't it fucking wild that like our parents just went through like a phase, like a couple of decades in a row, where like rockets were just a thing
up every 2 seconds? Like,
well, sure, we had a rocket go like 3 months ago.
That's true.
So not too bad.
Yeah, but it's not really a big deal now. You don't expect them to just like blow up on the platform.
Funny enough, so the Challenger, if you don't know, people are listening, it's about the space shuttle program. The space shuttle program was the first time they sent an actual like plane into space, one that could fly around and then physically
come back down,
land on a runway. It's the same thing you went up in, because you're not going that far. All you're doing is orbiting the Earth and going straight back down. And they had a bunch of successful ones. They had Challenger 1 before Challenger. They had Columbia. They were all a massive success. Challenger was a big one, and The Simpsons really made fun of it with that episode where Homer goes to space, because they'd sent a teacher up there and a few non-astronauts. They sent engineers and stuff up, but the teacher was the big one, because it was like a civilian is going into space. She's no real
America's best.
Yeah, literally, like Ronald Reagan decided.
Yeah, it was like people got bored of fucking people going to the
space
moon
program, and they were spending so much money on it, and it was like, how do we get interest in that? And I remember in The Simpsons, that's the whole premise of the episodes of sending Homer into space, is that NASA is worried about their ratings on their TV show, not the actual space exploration. And there's like a bit where they're actually in space, and they're like, the numbers are in. It's our highest viewed launch in decades, and they're all like, "Yay!" And like, "How's the shuttle doing?" And they're like, "We don't know. All this equipment is used for monitoring TV ratings." but it touches
pretty
on that.
Fucking close, like
it's not far off that.
I thought, because like I was saying, I went to the big museum or whatever in Washington, and I was like, "Fuck me, this is like the greatest success ever."
Yeah,
and in reality, it was a kind of a piece of shit.
It was literally like guys punting it,
taking chances, and they got lucky so many times. Absolutely. And then they got so unlucky. This is the most unlucky launch ever. Everything came together. The weather, the issue that they had planned. So there was a whole investigation into it, and they found out that there was an issue with how it was built. To be fair, I was really surprised about, was the rocket company, the company that was designing the rockets, had flagged it with NASA. And you would think it would be the other way around. You know, you'd think it would be NASA
very
going,
true, yeah.
You know, we're paying you guys, but NASA turned around and we're going, it's fine, and so NASA was relying on the weather not to be changing, the weather changes all the time.
Yeah.
And the weather changed, and that caused this essential booster rocket to explode, killing everyone instantly.
Instantaneously.
What's crazy about Challenger was so many people were watching it live on TV, and then also there was so many people at the launch, and we're talking students of Krista McCall and stuff, so tons of people witnessed regular stuff.
Every classroom in America was watching this live, and no one knew, because no one had. All the fucking kids were watching this shit, and they were like, "Oh, this is so much brighter."
Yeah.
There's a great home video that he put in halfway through this, and it's a home video of some person in Florida, and the person's just saying, "Oh wait, the rocket's going a little bit brighter than last time," and then
he knows there's something.
And he knows there's something up, because obviously he lives fucking near they're sending
He's
rockets
probably
up all
seeing
the
rockets
time,
all the
the
time,
time, like every 2 years or
Yeah.
something. It was ridiculous. They were trying to fly them out so much. It's explained all in the documentary, and he has footage of
it, yeah.
Yeah,
Expect-
there's so much
essentially
footage of this. If
I mean,
you go on
that's
YouTube,
another
you
thing,
can
sorry.
see.
This was in the 80s. Like, there was tons of cameras filming. You can just look up the Challenger explosion. I'd seen it a ton of times before.
How long was it as a whole, the documentary?
So it's four parts, about an hour each.
They're about 45 minutes
45
actually.
minutes each.
They're very
now,
refreshing.
They're good. They're not. They go into. So I what I was interested about is like the actual technology behind it, and you know where the space program was at in the 80s, because while people hadn't become fully fatigued with it, they were trying to think of new things to do, and
Yeah.
they'd given up on the moon, which was really interesting. What I also thought was really good was that it was an excellent tribute to the people who died on it, because
Yeah.
these documentaries can be like, as you say, like tragedy porn, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, look how sad this is. It was sad and stuff, and it was absolutely tragic, and it really gave you an insight into each person who was on that flight.
All the journalists and everything.
The journalists.
Really good line in that. When
How
a
many
guy,
deaths?
I think
was 8 on board,
Yeah,
I think,
8
or
on
something like
board,
that? Yeah.
including like all these amazing doctors.
Doctors, engineers.
It goes into
a
the training and
pilot,
everything.
You know,
One of the best
really,
lines.
Really good people, and it was also as well. Funny enough, I just copped it when I was watching it at the start, and then they go into it. It was the most diverse people they'd sent up into space before.
Very interesting. They had like
an
full
Asian American.
Yeah.
You had a black scientist on there. You had 2 women. It was the first time you'd had. It wasn't the first time a woman had gone up, but it was the first time 2 women were going up together, and like they were all qualified. I mean, other than Krista McCall, who had spent about a year in training, which you would think is a lot, but she was like, it's only a patch on what astronauts do. But you know, they had the other girl, I can't remember her name, I think it's Renee or whatever, but she was an engineer as well, and she understood the technology and stuff, but she was like, it's not to the same level that like Neil Armstrong and stuff would have been.
Yeah.
Like they would have been at it like 6 or 7 years, and they would have been pilots, so they were trained for like, you know, disasters and things like that, and all where it's like you were, so they acknowledged that was a risk. But it was good as well, because it didn't sugarcoat NASA. I mean, it doesn't make them look like villains. But
it makes it look pretty fucking shit.
It
makes the tribunal look really shit.
Yeah,
because it's basically just covering their arses. It's very interesting. One of the best lines from it is when the journalist who works for like a local newspaper was like, I used to write these about the astronauts, and I'd write one version that's in the present and one that's in the past. Because you would never know when the astronauts was going to die. Like so many astronauts died throughout the years.
And they're really like the best of us as well, aren't they?
Oh, they are literally like...
They're like, not only like the geniuses, but they're also like the most athletic.
They're
like,
heroes.
Yeah.
They are genuine. And
Dr. Mann.
Really,
He is the best of us.
But it really did paint them that way, and it was a good tribute to Krista McAuliffe and the rest of the people on board. And it wasn't a shitty fucking Netflix documentary.
No, that Fear City one was the fucking worst thing I've ever watched in my life. It was so bad. We put a bug in the telephone, and we put a bug in the car. Not fucking interesting. Speaking of mobsters, I watched Donnie Brasco, because that movie has been fucking looking at me for the last year and a half on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch some classic Johnny Depp. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Impressed?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a typical 90s movie where you don't get like the same kind of high quality storytelling
it's
like
very
devices or whatever.
It's
filmed very 90s and everything, and like the dialogue is fine, and like, have you guys noticed in 90s films there's always this fucking relationship with the kids and the wife that you just don't care about? It's just like this happens in every 90s film.
That's back to like most films, like Goodfellas has that, and like it goes back to
every
almost
gangster film has this shit.
Because they're trying to show like these
The
gangsters
human
have
side.
risk, Like it's not just about them, but like it is like
So
like,
I mean,
we're not glamorizing the gangsters' lifestyle.
The movie came out 23 years ago, so I'm gonna go into it. Johnny Depp is an undercover FBI agent. He infiltrates the New York mob. This was like the golden age of gangsters in New York, and he is basically responsible for bringing them all down. He is still alive today. He made a TED Talk recently.
No way.
There's $500,000 on his head.
Holy
But like most of these guys are fucking dead.
They're all
Like
dead themselves.
they're all dead. Like it's kind of like they've been replaced by like the new age of gangsters or whatever. So it's just very interesting. Great performances. Half of it's set in New York, half it's set in Florida. If you like Sopranos, if you like, it's kind of like I said, it's like Johnny Depp's audition for Blow. Very similar characters. That he plays, just one's on the right side of the law, one's on the wrong side of the law.
It's also nice watching Johnny Depp in a movie that isn't fucking Pirates of the Caribbean.
Some people say this is like one of his best films.
I would say, because it really put him on the map at the time.
Yeah, someone
really
said to me that this is. I was telling someone in work that I was watching this, and it was like his only good movie, and I was like, that's fucking harsh.
Yeah, but, that's terribly harsh.
Yeah. But he hasn't made a lot of good movies. I think he's like a megastar, but he's only made like a handful of good movies.
I mean, it's debatable. It's like, what's he? You know what he was? He was one of those actors when you were a kid and you were like, God, he's really good. And then you kind of grew up and you're like, he's like maybe fucking not like. But
he also grows a brutal mustache in this.
Yeah, he does.
It's brutal. Like,
do you find though with those like old gangster films that they're very dated? I remember
Goodfellas, like I was saying,
Goodfellas
Dark
is an
Knight.
incredible film.
I fucking stuck on Dark Knight was stuck on in the house I was in the other day, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna be here.
No, I have to watch this whole thing.
I actually had to get up and be like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't. I watched 40 minutes, and I was like, I actually have shit to do.
I was watching Serpico for the first time this year at some stage. It was a couple of months ago. I was just like, this is actually a bad film. Like, I don't think it's really. It's a cool story.
That's old.
It's not. It's not really. It's like 70s.
This is
But like,
that's half a century.
Yeah, but like I mean, like what? It's like The Godfather was in the same like a decade before.
Yeah,
you know,
but it's like you can't put Serpico up with fucking
Taxi Drivers, similar.
So weird that It's Always Sunny has a Serpico fucking episode.
Yeah, like a random.
That was fucking 40 years ago when this was made. Such a specific reference. I love the hat though.
I just think that there's a lot of like Al Pacino films back in the day that are just such slow burners that everyone thinks is still like this unbelievable classic when it's just.
I take that over Dunkachino any day.
Well, I was just thinking about funny enough, The Irishman the other day, and I remember thinking it was going to be fucking terrible. I had it in my head, this is going to be terrible.
like The Irishman.
I fucking really liked it.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I was like, fuck, another gangster movie by Scorsese.
No, but I was saying I'm talking about like the older gangster films, like the ones that are considered.
There's
classics.
some movies I wish I could just go back to the cinema and see. I haven't seen The Revenant, and I tried to stick it on the other day, and I was like,
man, you won't be able to watch it in your free time.
I just can't be doing this. Like, someone fucking lock me in a room and have that on DVD.
Like, I like The Revenant, and I think it is good, but
it's like, same. It's not a film that like I'd implore you to get off your list.
No.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't actually implore you to have it on your list.
And I love the director. I love Alejandro Gonzalez, but
and I love Leo's performance and Tom Hardy beside him. Like I thought that like it's a cool story, and the fight with the bear is unbelievable. Like, but at the same time, like. It's not a film that I'm like, get in and watch that now, like while you're still young.
Is there anything that you watched?
I've been on a weird buzz, and this is very coincidental, but I've been watching a lot of old Michael Fassbender films.
That's so random.
But like just randomly, they were both separately recommended to me. One was Shame, the Steve McQueen film.
I'm interested to see what you think of this one now.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you about the ending. I must talk to you about the ending after this. I won't ruin it because it's a pretty niche film.
Yeah.
But it's essentially it's a very artistically inclined film, just shot wise. It's a gorgeous film. It's set in New York, and Michael Fassbender is a sex addict who basically just kind of wanks and like has sex with hookers and stuff like that. With whoever will have sex with him. And his life is just kind of jolted and interrupted. He's kind of a yuppie as well, but his life is kind of jolted and interrupted by his sister, who was just a problem child, but also not really a problem child. Like there's very kind of
everything's hinted at.
Yeah, it's hinted that they had a bad childhood.
It's also hinted. I think I got a little bit of incest hinted between them.
I got a lot of incest.
That there was an incident that happened between them.
I was waiting for them to fuck. Yeah. Like let's just say that. And
that'll tell you everything you need to know about.
I don't want to talk about the ending, but it is a good film. It's a little lackluster at times, but I did enjoy it.
I was underwhelmed.
I was underwhelmed. I'll talk to you about the ending after. I think you'll fully agree with me.
Yeah.
But it was more so just a beautiful film to watch rather than an enjoyable story.
We should mention it was directed by Steve McQueen, who did 12 Years
12
a
Years a
Slave. Who's
Slave.
an
Not,
accomplished director.
not The Great Escape. Different guy. But anyway, yeah, you could see like the bare bones of like how his artistic choices got him a film like 12 Years a Slave following this film. But I don't think this was the best story. Anyway, the second Michael Fassbender film I was watching is on Netflix, and it was 2009, which was like, you know, like the Skins era and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it is Fish Tank.
What a random one.
What a random one. My girlfriend told me to watch it, and she thought it was like a bit of a joke of a film because like they're proper like English kind of cliche chavs and everything and stuff like that. And it's like when Step Up and N-Dubs were a thing. So like they're doing like
that
these
whole
dancing
era,
and shit.
like.
But she completely missed the mark. It's a banger of a film. It's honestly really good. No, what it is it's a film and basically like a completely impoverished like estate in Britain.
Okay.
And it's about a mother who's like basically was a teen mother. She has two young girls. The fathers aren't in the picture. Michael Fassbender is this kind of Irish kind of young lad chap who comes into the picture, loves drinking with the mother and everything, and they develop a relationship. And he starts kind of looking out for the girl. The girl kind of falls in love with him a bit, who's only like 16, and she's trying to get involved in this dance competition. He's real supportive and everything and shit like that. And as they kind of go through the motions, it basically turns out that Michael Fassbender ends up having sex with her, basically, which is a really cool turn because, I mean, like, she's underage and shit. Then it turns out that Michael Fassbender has this whole other life going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Completely unfolds. And then the big, like, cheesy, culmination you think is going to come at the end actually turns out that the whole, like, dance show competition, it was a stripper audition. And she gets up on stage in like an N-Dubs tracksuit, ready to do these like mad hip hop dances and shit like this.
Who was in Fish Tank? Did she end on? Did I see her in something? Did I see her in like an English?
You
TV
won't know.
show
You won't know I don't think you'll know the main girl.
I feel like in my head I do, or she's in some British.
I've never seen it.
Well, only reason I know
Katie
it,
Jarvis.
I recognize the name.
I know the name,
Give me a
but
look at her.
She doesn't really have like an IMDb. She's mainly just of the mic.
That's us hitting the microphone there. Yeah, she's in something I've seen. Oh, she has to be in EastEnders. She is Hayley Slater in EastEnders.
God,
That's
what
how
a
I know,
fucking
yeah.
broken form of media. Let's
So
make a show every day for the rest of time.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, this film really did surprise me. I ruined it a little bit there in order to sell it, but
Well, I actually would want to watch it now.
it's genuinely like it's one of those kind of like really raw tellings, like 2009 proper miserable kind of tellings of like what it's like to be what it's like to be really poor in Britain. And what it's like to kind of have that messed up kind of session mother, you know, that was like so prevalent in the likes of Skins and stuff like that. Just a really cool film, and I'd like other people's opinions on it. So go ahead and watch it.
Guys. Check it out. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
On to the boys, I think.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
We're probably running over a little bit of time. We're coming up to 23 minutes, so we'll do just a couple of minutes on the boys. I think we've been talking.
Yeah,
about the last few
absolutely.
weeks. Jack, what did you think of episode 5?
I really enjoyed this episode. I know it was kind of the standard fucking everyone's in their low point kind of thing. Midway through the season. I think there's 3 episodes left.
Is there?
Oh, that's terrible news. I thought there was 10.
Yeah, no, I think there's 16 episodes overall, so I think there's actually
don't
only
fucking tell
8.
me that.
That's so
Yeah, I'm
upsetting.
sorry.
That's awful news.
Yeah, but 17 episodes. So in season 2, there's only 3 more episodes.
Oh,
That is such
Yeah.
bad
Sad
news.
already.
Yeah,
I'm honestly
so
like
it's
you
everyone-
ruined my week.
I know. So this kind of seems like it's going to be a filler season overall in the grander scheme of things. But I kind of love the whole poking fun at like superhero films, Batman versus Superman. Like they fucking really went hard in on that, and the whole like it's like this is such a fun series because it pokes fun at everyone. Like it pokes fun at capitalism, the way that like they're going to like vodify and all this fucking shit, and like how there's 8 movies and like that. I love the poking fun at like that extremely like, don't get me wrong, I'm all up for, like, you know, representation or whatever, but like, you know, in the Avengers, when Peter Parker is getting help by all the female superheroes, it's like, okay, but like that's extremely forced.
And it's clearly a calculation done by a bunch of market researchers. It's not like a bit like
the marketing team behind that was like, we need
it works
with
with
this.
Marvel because you are forcing there to be representation, but you're doing it in a way that sells.
Yeah, and it's fucking hilarious because Black Widow just died, and they're just there like, don't worry, we'll all look after you. And it's kind of like, okay, but like the future of the Earth is on. There's no fucking stakes in the Marvel universe. We've been through this last week, but I love how they posted like, girls get it done, and like Homelander is like talking about Joss, which is obviously Joss Whedon, who like rewrites and everything. Obviously A-Train is like,
there was that great moment when Maeve is, you know, she was outed by Homelander in the last episode, which we mentioned, which I thought was a fucking brilliant scene because it just showed how callous Homelander is. He's just a horrible guy. But I loved how, you know, the marketers have jumped aboard that, and they're, you know, they've got Maeve's girlfriend, who, did you guys realise Queen Maeve is Irish?
I didn't.
She kind of looks Irish.
She does look Irish.
She's got very Irish vibes, yeah.
She is fully Irish. And I'm like, how has no like Irish media done like an interview with her yet? Like, you know, whenever an Irish star comes out with something,
like Paul Mescal,
like everyone's on top of him. It's like this girl's in one of the biggest shows on TV at the moment, and she's really good in it. But anyway,
what is her name?
It's probably Siobhan or something.
Siobhan O'Riordan or something. Fuck's sake. We're actually
Deirdre.
What is it? Please tell me.
It's Deirdre, Siobhan, or
Maura.
And Dominique McElligott.
Oh yeah, McElligott.
But it's got a G in it.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Why are they spelling it that way? But yeah, she's in like the Guard.
Yeah, she's in the Guard. You know who she is in the Guard? She's like
Evil Carol.
That's who she is in the Guard. But anyway, sorry. There's that really good scene when they're talking to her and her girlfriend's like, I don't want to be part of this like public fucking relationship, blah blah blah. And they go, no, it's a big sell. And then they go, now here's your clothes. And she's in a suit, and she's like, why do I have to wear man's clothes? And they say, ooh, well, the public doesn't react to. They can accept a gay couple, but they would rather them fit gender roles.
We want you to be the Ellen.
It's like Ellen and Portia. I was like, this show is so good at making fun of the industry. It's just so meta. It's a very, very intelligent show that's hitting all the bases at the minute.
Yeah, it's like, you know what that is a nod to? That's a nod to George Takei from Star Trek when he publicly came out gay, and they changed his character
Sulu to gay.
And he came out and was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Just because I'm a gay man doesn't mean." He actually said, like, I'm not directly quoting him. He said he was disappointed or something along those lines. But he was basically saying, like, just because I'm a gay man in real life doesn't mean you have to suddenly
play a straight man in a fucking TV show.
It's stupid, and like they're playing on that. They've really digged in deep to like just taking the piss out of the superhero shit, and like we were saying before, like the Gillette ad and the Deep being like, I'm gonna be better, like, and Tom Cruise Scientology. Your man is very what's his name, Alistar.
Yeah, he's very like
David McSavage.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Miscavige.
David McSavage.
The Irish Savage Eye. Yeah. Imagine he was the head of Scientology.
But I mean, like, it's just a bit wild that like a show that's so absurd and based around superheroes and this completely different reality could like comment so accurately on all of the flaws of our society and be such a parody of everything that's happened in that society. It's absolutely crazy. And it's a type of show that like I can see the whole kind of introduction of racial undertones and racism being an issue being brought into it, and I think it's just being done so organically because they're also hitting all of these other bases, and they're also hitting all of these other problems. They're not virtue signaling.
No,
like Seth Rogen isn't sitting there being like poor black people.
Yeah,
you know
what I mean? Like,
he's literally the writers of the show are just they're tailoring it to every social community within the melting pot that is America. Like,
and I think as well as this is again the season 2 syndrome a little bit. It is a build-up season.
I don't know. I thought the last few episodes were bangers.
They were. Like, I mean, I just think there's a lot going on, and they're trying to get it. And I'm not flying the boys. Like, I mean, it is my favorite TV show at the moment. But like the Kimiko stuff, you can tell there's build up to that. There's stuff going on there with her and Frenchie, and especially in the last episode, you literally just had Frenchie following her around for the whole thing. I was like, and they're trying to. I think they're finding a place where they can split off their characters. Because, I mean, the Deep they've completely changed him in this season, and I'm so glad.
And A-Train's joining them, obviously.
A-Train I think is a brilliant change. I think it's a really good, because...
Shockwave's coming in. And major fucking reveal at the end of this episode as well, that Lamplighter is coming back.
Lamplighter is coming back, yeah, absolutely. So there's...
And he's been in, psychiatric hospitals.
I love how everything is just a constant corporate,
Wait, who was Lamplighter again?
Lamplighter is a guy who played Freeze Man or whatever in X-Men.
Yeah, fucking...
Sean Ashmore.
Oh, yeah.
Sean Ashmore?
No, I did actually notice him, but why? What role did he play in the first season? Lamplighter, obviously, but who?
No, but remember Lamplighter. Lamplighter killed, the general. What's your man's name? Australian UK guy.
You're making me more confused.
Butcher, yeah, sorry, the main fucking character. Well, not the main character, but Butcher. Remember the general that he goes to and visits in the first season?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Lamplighter killed her children and got kicked off the Sevens and put in the psychiatric hospital. It's mentioned at the start of season 1, very briefly.
Very vaguely.
And then he's playing with the lighter there, so he's Lamplighter. He's got fucking flame powers, basically. So it's basically their version of...
Also, I don't know about you guys, but the fake out, they keep doing fake outs in season 2, but it really got me in this one when Homelander just laser vision.
Oh, I thought that was it.
A couple of thousand
I was
people.
at that point I was like, fuck, they've jumped the shark. They've jumped the shark. I was like, no,
I was so happy.
I don't know. I think I was like, this is gonna get too ridiculous. Way too.
I was like, don't get me wrong. I was happy for a second, and then when they revealed that it didn't happen, I was like, that's probably
what happened.
choice.
As much as Homelander is a lunatic, I think he has
because if Homelander just flipped the switch, there's literally nothing anyone could do.
No, nothing.
And I like the way that there's always those undertones that very much could happen, and it probably is building
on the way.
That.
It's in the oven.
What did you think though? I thought they missed a huge opportunity in this episode in particular, and I was really disappointed with that. And I'm really disappointed with this character in general up until this point, which is Black Noir coming into the gap. I thought that it was going to be their version of Home Alone.
Oh, that would have been great.
And they made reference to it. Huey was putting down the trap, and they were like, "This is like Home Alone, except not cute."
Yeah.
And I thought that it was going to be proper, because how they kill Translucent was so interesting, and it was so cool, and it showed kind of how normal humans could take on these could take on these superheroes. But then Black Noir comes in, he's indestructible. He just kind of walks through everyone. I was just waiting for the Home Alone spec kind of traps to be around the house, and it just to be
cool.
really fun, and then running around the house and be like, "Hey, get us!" and then he walks into a nail bomb.
But I think the climax is going to involve. Season 2 is going to involve Black Noir.
Yeah, I agree.
He's been chasing them this whole season. There's going to have to be a big thing with Black Noir, and I just love his character.
Yeah, no, they're really bringing him back in more. I wonder who they're going to get to play him, because they do have a character. They do have an actor
who's actually
play in the suit, but I just think if he ever takes off the mask, they're gonna cast someone massive. But
I think that he's just I'd imagine under all of his gear, he's just a disgusting creature.
A bit like
you briefly
Deadpool.
saw his just fucked up face,
disfigured face, and all.
He
seems very kind of Deadpool-esque. I loved it the way the whole build up of the episode was just him perched
on a roof.
that was hilarious.
And how Butcher saw him was literally just looked at his window and was
fuck,
sighing
yeah, I thought all that stuff was really funny.
Stormfront and fucking Homelander.
Yeah, that's the last thing we have to
having super sex.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking gas.
It was brilliant.
That's the perfect woman for Homelander, because he needs that fucking figure around, but he also wants to beat the shit into everyone. And
she can take it.
She seems like she's going to be a fucking issue.
Yeah,
but she's so racist as well.
I also love
that scene with A-Train and her, and she's they just start letting anyone in, and he's just so blissfully unaware. He's like, I'm part of the Seven. Well, he's not then, but he's like, I'm a fucking soup. I'm the best. I love the superiority complex. The egos that they all have. He's like, oh yeah, she's probably talking about someone else, but he can't see because she's been so racist to his face.
I think I said it last week. I think outside of the boys, there is kind of a smaller group, a subgroup of soups that are forming.
Yeah, Maeve.
Yeah,
Like Maeve, The Deep, Starlight, obviously, A-Train.
possibly. But A-Train kind of says goodbyes and he just realizes that he can't do it anymore. I wonder what they're going to do with your man Shockwave. Be interesting to see whether they'll just...
He's just going to be the fucking cliche speedster.
Well, I mean,
they seem to be making it very white.
They're also going to up the amount of soups that are in this because, like even Homelander going to... Where was it, Africa, and just zapping that guy and killing an innocent man in the process. Like,
and he was like, "These things happen," and everyone's like,
"It's happened before."
But anyway, we should probably
let's get on.
We'll reconvene about the boys next week. I'm very excited for this week's episode.
Absolutely.
But we should start talking about Cuties. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk about Cuties, which is the new Netflix film, and we are going to talk about the film separate from the marketing.
Absolutely.
And the viral uproar that this marketing caused, and we're going to basically try and work out whether or not that marketing or the uproar surrounding that marketing was justified in terms of the film, or if it was a bit or if the film was done dirty by the marketing. So let's just say.
Well, I feel like 90% of the people, 98% of the people who are complaining about this didn't watch it.
Haven't seen it.
And it does have, I just want to say before we actually get into it, is it has a 2.5 on IMDb.
I quickly before we start, I looked it up there, and the first review I saw, and it literally just said disgusting. So I was going into this expecting the worst. I genuinely was like, this is going to be that bad. But let's talk about the marketing.
Yeah, Jack, do you want to read?
Yeah, okay. So
blurb up?
Obviously, it had a different title. I don't speak French, so I presume it means cuties. So it's mignons,
mignonnaise or
something. So they renamed it Cuties, and the poster for the actual French film
was this the first?
Quite innocent. Okay.
Can I see the first?
The first poster is very innocent. Okay, it's a couple of kids.
That's exactly what I would expect.
A couple of kids running up the road or whatever.
Netflix got this so
wrong.
Got this
so wrong.
Yeah, so Netflix went. I'm sure you've all seen the poster. Netflix went full fucking.
Sexualized.
Twerking 11-year-olds.
It was very, very fucking strange, and it looks like something that didn't like everyone thought it was a parody.
So what this film is, it is a small kind of independent French film, and it's a foreign language film as well. What Netflix marketed as was something that was on TLC.
Absolutely.
And it made me like question whether or not Americans should be allowed to raise kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the original definition for this film, Netflix, was Amy, 11, becomes fascinated with a twerking dance crew, hoping to join them. She starts to explore her femininity, defying her family's traditions. Okay, so IMDb now have it as Amy, 11-year-old girl, joins a group of dancers named the Cuties Schools and grows rapidly aware of her femininity.
Okay. So
upsetting her mother.
The twerking was the big thing that they
The twerking was the weird thing that they put in. Netflix can fucking hire whatever type of graphic designers they want. They're not using their Fiverr for fucking 3-year-old graphics out there.
But why not just use the original poster?
I don't know. Do you think it was these outrage campaigns that people have all the time?
I'm starting to think it could have been, and I just think it actually backfired.
Backfired bad.
I don't think anyone watched this film.
No.
Yeah. I think a lot of people avoided it.
Watched this
the only reason we thought that we would watch it is because it did very well at Sundance.
Yeah.
And Sundance, it is a respectable film festival.
I would rather watch a Sundance film than an Oscar film.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. So the smaller film festivals usually produce very, very good films. I do think though at the same time, I don't know who should be fired for this, but how the marketing process went through and whoever approved it should be fired over the person who actually made the fucking posters. Because the posters, they were fucking ridiculous. They were horrible, but they were essentially stills from the film.
That's true.
Listen, if you're going to be angry about the poster, you have to be angry about these fucking American pageants that go on all the time. If you're going to be angry about this film, don't fucking watch TMZ and all this fucking other bullshit. I mean, I don't. I fucking was not chill with this film and some of the scenes. I showed my mom one. And she was like, oh, it can't be that bad. And I was like, would you allow your 11-year-old daughter to do this? My mother said $2. And she was like, no.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I was kind of hoping out of the film when I was going into it. Because one of my friends who is... One of my girlfriend and one of my friends who's a girl also, they didn't have an issue with this film. They thought it was actually quite good. And I was kind of going into it thinking and kind of hoping almost that it was one of those things that once you actually watch it and you get past the marketing... if you're watching it and you're finding these kids overly sexualized, or you think that this is inappropriate, you're the problem. I was kind of hoping that it really wasn't, though. I like as much as I kind of see where this film wanted to go. So this film, it looked at the dichotomy between the Muslim conservative values and family values towards women, and it also looked over at the hypersexualization of children these days.
Absolutely.
And I think that's
not even just children. I just think hypersexualized pop culture that children consume at a massive level.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really, really interesting kind of concept to go through, and especially to put them so parallel together. But at the same time, this film is so problematic with the shots that they decided to take.
Yeah, it's the more of the shots. So the story is interesting, the concept is interesting. Obviously, it's like the moral dilemma between this girl finding her new pastime, her new friends, expressing herself.
I think the big thing about it I felt I was acutely aware that I was watching this through a fucking man's eyes, and the thing about it is it's a coming of age film about a child living under a strict Muslim family, but also not even just Muslim, African.
Senegalese
who take tradition and things like that very, very seriously. And I thought it was good at pointing out the hypocrisy of religion, because I've always felt that I can relate to people who struggle, people who are Muslim or Islam, who struggle with certain doctrines in the religion, because it's the same as Christianity. It has all these bullshit rules about modesty and 100%. Shame.
Listen, we're all fucking Irish here. We all know exactly what it's like about fucking. There was only condoms here. Fucking what?
20 years ago.
20 years ago, like.
But so I thought it was really good at touching on that stuff, and I could understand why it was trying to approach. Then, of course, a young girl is going to jump on modern pop culture and hypersexualized rap music and stuff and all. And because, as well as I'm somebody who consumes a lot of fucking rap music, I don't see a problem with. I never have had an issue with sexualized material ever.
Never.
Because I just feel. But this gave me a new view on it and kind of went. And I think this movie did address that slightly.
I thought it did an excellent job.
And I'm gonna go on record. I thought this movie was good, but it did make some fatal fucking mistakes. And I think, as you say, Tiernan, some of the shots and the dance scenes were just not necessary.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm not sitting there going, this is an all, like, I think this film got mixed in with people who were genuinely kind of said, look, you went a little bit too far there, to people who are actually like, this film was made by a fucking paedophile. That's not the case.
That's not the case. Well, I'll give it some background. So Decore, the director, she comes from a Senegalese Muslim family. She grew up in France. This isn't her story. This is a story that she was at a kind of show one day, and there was a concert on, and these young 11-year-old dancers got up and she thought they were incredibly sexualized. So what she did was she went and she did an incredible amount of research. She interviewed hundreds of teens and asked them about their experience. It did a lot of social research as well about actually the media and online media and all these different things. And she wrote the script around that. And I think it's a great concept, as we've said again. And I think that as a first-time director, there was a lot of stuff about this film that I was like, those are cool shots. Like, this is impressive.
She will do well.
I think she'll do well. But at the same time, I was aware as well that I'd because I was taking the two girls' point of views that I was watching with I was aware, I'm watching this through a guy's lens, and I've seen so many films of young boys coming of age.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
How inappropriate they can be, and I was just thinking, this is a direct, even if this does make everyone extremely uncomfortable, this is what it's like. This is what
whether you like it or not, fucking happens. And these things are touched in films all the time, like you said. I'm thinking of fucking Timothy Chalamet and Call Me by Your Name. That's extremely sexualized as well, and he's underage.
Even you look at Superbad. You know what I mean? That's about a bunch of fucking 16-year-olds finding their sexuality, but because it's boys,
but
you probably don't think it's
also. I mean, what I was
there's no close-ups of Jonah Hill's rock hard cock.
What I was going to get at is I was also going into this expecting it to be kind of towards the lines of Little Miss Sunshine, how there was the sexualization of the pageant at the end, and she was doing the strip dance at the end, and she was very much a child.
I wonder, did that cause controversy at the time?
I'm not sure. I don't think it did, though, because it was so brief. And
it's the purpose of a joke.
And
the whole
it was the
scene
purpose
is the purpose of a joke.
But it was also like to comment on the fact that these pageants go on and they're ridiculous
Yeah.
and look how sexualized.
You got to be angry about the pageants if you're angry about this film.
But the whole thing to do with Cuties was that they could have done the ridiculous sexualized dance at the end without all of the horrible sexualized shots beforehand.
Yeah.
Because what she has done, and I personally didn't like watching it myself. I was watching it with my girlfriend. It made me uncomfortable at times, but at the same time, I was like, all right, well, like if fucking The Diary of a Wimpy Kid was wanking, you know, I mean, going through puberty, that would have been a lot more realistic, and like it would have been made a lot more sense.
And it wouldn't have made you uncomfortable.
And it wouldn't have made me uncomfortable. So,
in a weird way, you can probably when you're watching these films, you can relate to them as a young man. Going, I went through all that. So I was acutely aware of that watching this. I was going, okay, it might make me uncomfortable, but there's probably a lot of girls out there who can relate to this.
But at the same time, I think the way and the repetitiveness of the shots of like the little girls, like fucking arse, for example, which was such a reoccurring thing, and even like scenes that I just thought were unnecessary, like she starts to take off her clothes for her cousin and different things like that.
Was really weird.
Stuff like that is facilitating pedophiles watching this film.
Yeah, you see, this is the problem because, I mean, do you take responsibility for that and go... Because I think the three of us would agree there should really be no limits to artistic expression.
No, you can do whatever.
But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, there's children in this film, and they're kids, and they're going to be affected by this film in any way.
Yeah.
Now, you look at a film like Leon, which touched on sexualizing a child, and Natalie Portman doesn't look back on that in any way negative. She sees the message behind that film was about a young woman finding her.
And Leon and Matilda and Leon wasn't even on the same precipice as this. Like they were on completely different levels.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
and there was always a very strong boundary between the camera and Matilda and Leon and Matilda.
Also,
that this film didn't have.
I'm watching The Fall currently, and obviously there's a major part of that thing is he manipulates a 16-year-old. There is a sex scene in that isn't showed. It's heavily implied, and you get the fucking idea. You know, like it's a good concept and it's an interesting concept, but I just feel like some of the shots is just kind of like
you could, as you say, you could probably let the audience make their, come to that conclusion that these girls are probably I think you could have got the same effect.
You could have the dances or whatever. It's just like Tiernan was saying. There's some shots here where it's like.
Well, you see, the only thing I found problematic was the dances. I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I saw them, I think people complained about what they were wearing and stuff in the film. It didn't make me uncomfortable because you see kids like that going into discos and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like it's part of life, and it's nothing I haven't seen. It's nothing most people haven't seen before, I think. And I didn't sit there going, because I think you have to be looking at it in a sexual way. Now, to be fair, I think the three of us.
I think that a lot of people went into this film and watched this film with a very sexual lens on.
That's the problem. I think that's the problem with the film. I think and the three of us would have done that because we knew about the controversy. I think if you go in with that lens, you're going to start picking every single thing in every single frame.
And I kind of I gotta admit that I did kind of drop that. The only thing that why I thought that the sexualization was so inappropriate was because it was so reoccurrent. I mean, I feel like you could have done a much more really effective without making your entire audience uncomfortable. Because, I mean, say if these were grown women and these were this sexualized on screen, I would be like, is this still going on? Are their arses is this film just them shaking their arse? But they're not. They're 11-year-old kids, and I think that throughout the entire film I was watching it and I was like, this is just, it's too much. I'm watching this film, I realized that it's got a great concept behind it, and I caught on to that quick, and I really liked that whole element to it. I really liked the fucking paralleled mirrored Muslim plus hypersexualization, because it reminded me of TikTok and shit. Absolutely. And everything like that. But I was just like, are they really still doing this towards the end of the film? Is this really still occurring on the screen?
And I wonder, was it because, I mean, I don't mean to make this a man-woman thing, but I wonder was because a woman directed it, maybe she didn't foresee, hang on a minute now, this might, give off, men will have a different view on it and will go, that could, I don't want to, this is armchair psychology, but men might look at that and go, no, that feels inappropriate to me, but as a woman, and she might just say, well, this is what young girls experience and things like that. And all.
I think when I'm looking at it, And I thought that this was initially I thought this was going to be a criticism on Islam, and
It wasn't really.
and the way
It was more of a criticism on tradition, I think.
yeah, and tradition. I thought that that's because she actually still is a devout Muslim, and I thought that it was going to be more leaning towards that scale. Personally, I think that the film, it began in that vein, very much overly criticized the hypersexualization of young kids more so than it did the way women in Islam exist. And
I think it touched on it because a big thing about it was her father gets to take a second wife.
Yeah.
And it really touched on the hypocrisy of Islam in that sense, where it's like he gets to go off and have a sexual relationship with another woman, and he just gets to choose that. And they touched on at the start, the women, you're a woman, there's going to be more women in hell than men. It touches on all these things,
and that's really like foreboding throughout the film.
You should follow what your husband says, and I think that was a good way of like opening it. Then it explains a lot why she behaves in the latter half of the film, and especially as well as with the film, you know, she takes it a step too far than the other girls because the other girls live in more moderate.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think that it did begin as kind of like an even down the line split, and it slightly took off. Whereas I don't think it's the fact that it's a female director why she didn't realize it was inappropriate. I think that like it was almost that she was bringing her values toward the film, as in like she was showing just how overly sexualized it is.
Yeah.
And she did kind of lean towards that in the
That's a good point
in her criticism rather than splitting it down the middle.
Do you think that she was trying to? Do you think she was trying to make you uncomfortable watching this film?
I think that she must have been, because otherwise I don't know what she was at like. Like I'm giving that to her as an excuse as to why she did so many of these horrible shots, because like I gotta say she clearly had good intention. I don't think that there was bad intention behind it.
I don't think there's a bad message in this movie.
No, me neither. But I do think at the same time that like it is an extreme telling of. It's not necessarily an extreme telling of religious circumstances, even though I suppose it is at the same time. I mean, there's some great scenes like when the new wife does eventually arrive at the end. That was an incredible scene. But I think that it shows more so an extreme telling of the sexualization of young kids. And in doing that, again, like I appreciate artistic expression, but it did feel a bit too much like it just felt like a total criticism of the whole kind of youth Gen Z culture, which is fair, but I think that it shied away slightly from like, okay, like, but these Muslim women are second class citizens at the same time.
Well, I think in it as well, it was like, I think it handled it well, because I think that's been done before. I think it has been done before, and even on Irish Sense, we've seen fucking movies about how women are held down by religion and stuff, and I think this is like a modern day interpretation of how you can have a very conservative religion in your family, but how does that exist in a world that's all about liberty and freedom and free expression?
And she does, to be fair, at the end of the film, spoiler alert, she does find the middle ground.
And I think that's what this film weirdly was going for as a concept.
Yeah.
I think it was going for a middle ground. I think it was trying not to comment too much on religion and not to too much comment on the sexualization.
I just don't think it really
probably didn't
came
hit that
across
point.
it
Now,
like that.
In saying that, this is her first fucking movie. So
and again, as we explained, the Netflix marketing really butchered it.
Yeah, and the weird thing about this is, if you go onto YouTube now and look up Netflix Cuties review, all of the big reviewers won't fucking go near this movie.
They won't even
We're bringing to you hot, fresh. But like, but it is such a fucking topic where it's like, fucking hell, like you could turn around tomorrow and you could say the wrong thing about it, and then you get fucking half of the people being like, oh, you're
I'm
this,
just gonna say,
or you're...
I think if we get any flack off anybody, like, fair enough.
We fucking whatever. We're small time.
Yeah, I mean, the 100 of you guys who listen,
but
50 of you who
DM us, I dare you. But we'll answer. But I do think that this film, it was butchered by the marketing. But what I did find as well, I did go to look up Cuties review, or like what kind of reasoning behind Cuties, to find an interview with the director, just a bit of research for the podcast. And everything was just the worst compilations of the worst scenes in Cuties.
Yeah,
and everything
and that's why I wanted to watch this film, because you cannot find a fair and balanced review on this. Yeah. On this film.
It's also blacklisted on Twitter search.
Stop.
Fuck off.
So if you go on if you search it on Twitter now, I'll do it right now. You know when something's trending and comes up, doesn't do that and make sure that you're not. So if you go
Now I can't help but wonder, was that a direct issue of people maybe posting screenshots of it? That was probably encouraging lewd
But
behavior
this is
on
what I
Twitter.
mean, look.
And that's when you, to be fair, that in itself is a problem with this film.
Like, look, this artistic expression all the way, I'm fully for it. Like, I'm currently reading Lolita. What a disgusting book.
It's a disgusting film.
But
which they handled brilliantly in Captain Fantastic, I felt.
also, yeah. But what I will say is that
the film as well, actually. Lolita's a film.
I know it's two films, the Kubrick, and then there's one where Jeremy Irons is. But anyway.
See, this is the thing. I think a movie like this was made 20 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago. I really don't think it would have been that big a deal. Now I'm glad that it is a big deal.
I still think that, like, there was just, again, I can't express this enough how much reoccurring shots of these little girls' bodies there was. And at first I was kind of like, all right, they're just doing their thing, like they're just dancing, stuff like that. I mean, they're not shying away from showing how these young girls are dancing. But like, the 16 into it, where they were still doing these sexual dances and they were getting more and more lewd every single time until the eventual culmination where it was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah, because this is the thing, because I was sitting there, I wasn't sitting there going like, I'm grossly offended by this fucking movie. It didn't make me feel...
I wasn't fucking offended.
Yeah,
and I feel like, look, if you think like this is incredibly sexual, like it is sexual, but if you're made uncomfortable by it, like I kind of get it, but at the same time it's kind of like,
it's also a bit like Grow Up.
Yeah, why are you uncomfortable?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
are you getting a fucking are you getting turned on by this? Well, you fucking weirdo.
Well, it reminded me that point reminds me of, this Cuties reminded me of this. Was I just remember reading about when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, that album by Nirvana, and everyone knows, or Nevermind, excuse me. The
baby
has a naked baby on it, a swimming naked baby on it, and the producers were like, no fucking way, we're not putting that on an album. And Kurt Cobain was like, the only way you're not putting that on an album is if you put a little sticker on the baby's penis that says, if you are offended by this, you're a closet pedophile. And I felt, is that what's going to be the case here with Cuties? I felt it was going to be like, you're screaming up in arms about this because you're looking for something sexual about it. But I agree with you, Tiernan, that wasn't the case when I saw it.
No.
I will admit, the scenes were sexualized.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Yes.
The only reason we're talking about this right now is because Netflix changed the fucking marketing.
Poster,
okay? The normal poster just looks like one of those French films, and you watch it and you're like, okay, that was a bit weird. It was a bit French.
I wonder, is it because...
Yeah, it was a bit French.
I wonder, it was so French. And I was thinking... would they see this in France and not Battle Island about it? Is there a little bit of a...
I don't know, man. I went to Paris once and I saw loads of pregnant women smoking. So, like, anything goes, like...
Exactly.
But I do think, though, again, like, I've been trying to build to this point, but I do think that this does facilitate very kind of horrid online groupings of people, whereas they could have done the same film with the same content,
and I mean...
and half of the paedophiles watching it,
I know. Like, at what point is that the filmmaker's responsibility, where you go, well, you have a duty of care here, and the filmmaker could probably argue back, it's not my fault this fucking horrible.
But here's the thing.
You know what I mean? They could probably argue that too.
Here's the alternate film in which I think that the filmmaker is following their own responsibility to not sexualize these kids to the point where they're being exploited on the internet, and that is that they have the dances and they have the kind of fun children playtime, whatever, stuff like that. They explore their sexualities and different things like that, and have the majority of the practice for the dances off screen, and then it builds up to this horribly sexualized dance at the end, and it's the shock value. Yeah. Everyone in the crowd is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Exactly like how they handled it in Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah. And I think that would have worked quite well. It would have had half the shock value, but unfortunately, this film, with its great concept, with its cool directional style, because I actually really like the directional style. I like the acting. The kids didn't annoy me.
Which is a huge achievement.
Yeah, it is a huge achievement. But it's just, there was too much scenes of their arses.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a point where I was like, I'm uncomfortable. It was a point where I was literally like, well, like if these were grown women, I'd also be like, come on, this is enough of it. It's kind of like when normal people had like 40 minutes of just pure sex, but everyone was in lockdown, so they had nothing else to watch, so everyone thinks that's actually a good show.
Whoa! Searing hot take from Tiernan there.
I haven't watched this,
but not only that, like, I mean, the thing is about it is, I went in, like, dreading it, came out, was pleasantly surprised, and then saying that, it didn't blow me out of the water. But I thought that it also toyed with really cool themes of like not only like you know
Pleasantly surprised by Cuties. That's gonna be a headline.
But no, it dealt with things like growing up, obviously, but it also dealt with things like bullying, fitting in, and the effect on being so repressed on things about like having repressed things about sexuality and stuff in your private life, in your family.
I thought this film was very brave
and living in a world that's hypersexualized, and how there's no way to. And how she gets it so wrong, you know what I mean? The main character, is her name Amy in it again? Yeah,
Amy.
She gets it so wrong about how she goes about things and how she thinks how I'll get liked and how I'll get accepted, and this is what I do. And I thought that was done really, really well.
Yeah.
And for a 90-minute movie, it explored a lot of different themes. It's just going to get overshadowed by these dance scenes.
Like what I'll say about this film is it's an incredibly brave film. It handled a lot of topics that a lot of other filmmakers would shy away from. But unfortunately, at times, it was just handled really badly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd say. I think that the bare bones of this film,
I think it's a valid
great content.
Yeah.
I think that when you watch this film, there's just certain times where you're just kind of like, that's a bit much. And if it didn't have those moments that were a bit much, I think it would be a lot better film. And it would still be as shocking, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, to everyone, because we're coming up on the hour now, I think maybe, like, give it a watch if you want.
If you want.
It's not worth a 2.5 on IMDb.
Absolutely.
That's hard. And that's down to Netflix's marketing. Watch it aside from the marketing. Try and go in with as little expectation as you possibly can. You may be pleasantly surprised, or you might be totally fucking uncomfortable. If you don't like the film, it doesn't mean you're a closet paedophile.
No, exactly.
But don't not like the film before you go and watch it.
You know what I mean? It's typical. It's typical.
Like, you're not a paedophile if you like the film.
Yeah,
exactly. You know? I mean, it goes both ways.
I mean, it's again, I recommend watching it because there's things I liked about it, but it's not like a groundbreaking movie. It's not. But I have to give it a little bit of credit. This is a fucking debut. This is the first.
I think that in many ways it's groundbreaking because it does show what it's kind of like to like. Look,
well, it was a good gender reversal.
We did John Hughes films. Like when you're looking at boys growing up, it's a lot more hardcore, more dirty, grimy, and like really from the boys' point of view. And when it's a John Hughes film and it's a girl, it's Pretty in Pink.
Yeah. But then again, when we watched 16 Candles, we all were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it's dated horribly.
So will this date horribly?
Yes, absolutely. It's dated already.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's dated. It's been out for about a fucking week.
But I don't.
To be fair to us, we were like 16 Candles. We were like, this is not fucking right. Yeah. This film is racist and all these other terrible things.
And like
maybe in 10 years' time, we'll look back on Cuties and go, Jesus, we really fucking got it wrong. You shouldn't watch that movie at all. But I don't think so.
No, personally, I don't think so.
I don't think it's got this bizarre blacklisted thing because first of all, we've mentioned this before, people just love getting fucking offended and love fucking shitting on it, and people just love arguing about something.
Well, people just get swept up in the hysteria.
Yeah. Oh, 99% of those reviews on IMDb, they haven't watched the film.
Haven't seen it.
I'd be very surprised if even like the over 1%.
Well, like once it gets into the boomers and they're like, I've just cancelled my Netflix subscription. It's like, okay, Jesus Christ, like, oh my God, like fucking hell.
Good for you.
What I will say though,
all the way to the bank, they're wiping their tears with your money. Like
this film though, it produced some amazing memes. Like the first day it came out, it was Jeffrey Epstein documentary beside Cuties, and it was like I played both sides, different things like that.
Yeah. Like come on, Netflix aren't running a pedophile rating. They're making fucking
they're making cash,
age part documentaries about pedos. Like
and like look, I support Netflix making smaller European movies and stuff, and I hope this hasn't changed their
hasn't hindered it.
Do you know what I mean? Because
all they just need to do is fucking fire the marketing team.
Jesus Christ!
Because it didn't work this time. You tried to shock everyone. You tried to get everyone to watch this really controversial film. It didn't fucking work. All you got was the full feature podcast tuning in.
No, literally, like if you look up a review, there's only a couple of
people actually.
And I'm big into my film reviewers. This is well documented by Tiernan. And
Jack likes to watch someone else's opinion before he gives it.
I'm not allowed to fucking read the news or. but no, I actually watch reviews after I see the movies now because it makes me feel guilty.
I've changed it.
But like I'm subscribed to all of them, and I just can't see any of them touching it. if you want fucking the hard hitting facts,
Tune into the
full feature
Yeah.
factual podcast.
yeah, we're like fucking Danny Dyer when he goes and meets all the gangsters. What have I got myself into? I am fucking shitting it. Me before I'm fucking pressing.
Publish.
Yeah.
Watch us be trending on Twitter tomorrow.
Yeah. We're all gonna get cancelled for watching Cuties.
Well, fucking hopefully more people will tune into the podcast. Shock value
No
marketing.
such thing as bad news.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've all pretty much summed up what we had to say about the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of good, but like not like I'm not sitting here going, you have to watch this movie. I'm not saying you have to not watch this movie. I finished it. And
Do whatever you want.
do whatever you want.
It's problematic, but there's plenty of problematic films.
It's plenty, exactly.
Listen, she's doing it from her own experiences and what she feels, and as a filmmaker, you're fucking allowed to do that, and if people don't like it, they can tell you that, and if they do like it, they can. It's up to you.
And they can
Everyone's
just
their
not
own
watch
fucking...
the movie.
We're all just fucking monkeys living on a
Living
giant
on
rock
an
through
old
space,
speck, yeah.
baby.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like thinking about it now, the girls are very fucking young.
Yeah, I think the only thing that bothered me was that the fact that there's actual, we forget because they're actors, there's actual people.
They are actual kids.
Yeah.
And
now, I'm not saying that they were made feel uncomfortable, you know what I mean? I'm sure their parents...
it would be interesting to see the point of view from the kids.
I would like to see their point of view in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
When they're grown women and they look back on it and they might say, look, it was a groundbreaking film at the time and I'm happy to have been part of that project. Or they might have said, my mom sold me for a book, just like fucking Honey Boo Boos, man.
Yeah.
Or like the point of view of the parents currently, or when like it all blows over a little.
It's hard for them to have an opinion on it because the film would have been made and directed and stuff, and then you don't know what ends up in the final cut.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like...
I'd imagine that they were told like this is going to be hypersexualized. Your kids are going to be
I'd say
hypersexualized.
so.
Like I can't imagine that many of these young actresses' parents were any different than dance moms or anything along them lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look, if you're fucking watching Dance Moms, you're just as complicit.
You're just exactly.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean. Like,
if you can get through an episode of Dance Moms, you can get through this.
Yeah,
I think.
like I mean,
it's culpability.
Yeah. So next week we are going to do the best, and this is actually a really exciting episode.
I'm so excited.
The best and worst reboots / remakes. So I mean, we're probably going to be talking about Mad Max. There's Total Recall.
We can talk about those Terminator
Dreads, Terminators. Yeah, God, they're fucking
the Alien
shit.
movies.
Aliens.
I think we should. We're also probably going to touch on like soft reboots. So like Blade
X-Men.
Runner
Well, X-Men is just a mess.
Blade
I
Runner
actually need an
2049.
excuse to watch Blade Runner 2049.
Deadpool's currently
Deadpool,
a
soft reboot.
soft reboot, yeah, of the same actor,
Irishman,
same characters, same actor. So guys, please tune into that. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you found it interesting.
Tell us what you think of Cuties.
Tell us what you think of Cuties. Yeah,
no one's going to watch it.
Tell us if we think that we avoided the minefield. But yeah, next week we're gonna do that. Our Instagram is @thefullfeature. Please give us a follow. Please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That helps so much with the algorithms. And please give us a follow on Spotify. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That was actually a really good one.
Right, anything we think?